Hey, here we go. Welcome, everybody, and welcome Mergoddess Sarah Bofinger to another live thingy.
Yeah, how are you?
Good. I'm flagging a little. It's 3 p.m. I had lunch around 1:30, and yeah, there's this urge to find busy work to do now because I think I could do that well.
Mm-hmm.
And what I have on my agenda for this afternoon is to turn an outline into a chapter, which is pretty much the hardest work that I do.
Wow.
So I'm wondering, what do you do to when you feel like procrastinating? Does that happen to you? That you have like the hard like writing a chapter is hard. It's also like probably the most important thing I could be doing because it's going to lead to a book that is going to, hopefully change lives. And I find like the more important it is and the harder it is, the more I don't want to do it.
Yeah, well, it's funny because remember we were talking about you had given me suggestions on how to like chapters together and everything, and like it was so hard for me that I just have not even looked at that again. Like I got some other feedback from someone else, and they kind of just were like, "Oh, if you want this New York bestseller," and I was like, "I don't know if I want a New York bestseller. I was just trying to like get some info out, you know? It wasn't about like that, but I mean, for that, I haven't looked back on that. So for procrastination goes, I have yet to even figure out what I want to do with that. But in terms of like workouts and things like that, like I'm usually pretty good. I mean, my life is basically working out and finding other information that I want to learn so that I can be a better coach, be a better person, you know. So, um, yeah, I guess like for me, I haven't really challenged myself in that way because probably the next challenge for me would be to write a book, but I don't know if I'm
Hmm.
there yet. So I can
Uh-huh.
feel you on that.
Yeah, well, the challenge of writing a book is like the words writing a book already doom you. Because I don't know how to write a book. I know how to write a sentence.
Yeah, I like the
Hmm.
blogging aspect because it's like, okay, here's like what I want to write about, and then poof, I can like turn it into. I think for me, like I like to like it almost feels like it takes too long because it's like there's certain sections, right, on like what it is that you wanna do with it, you know?
Well, and that's why. So, I'm looking at the outline right now, and for me, the outline is serves several functions. One is to sort of to help me see like what's the flow. What are all First of all, it's like what's everything I want to say about this topic. So, in fact, this chapter that I'm about to tackle is about motivation.
Hmm.
So I say, like, what do I, first of all, like, what's the omnibus? What's everything I want to say about motivation? Second, what's the story? What's the order I want to put it in? And both of those are really useful and important for the quality of the book, but neither one addresses the issue of actually getting it done, which is like you. So right now it's a fairly short outline. It's about, I would say, 20-25 lines. And that's hard to write. So the next step is to turn it into an outline of like 150 lines,
Hmm.
right? Just and so I'm not making any good sentences. Nothing in there is going to appear in the book. Maybe a couple of words here or there, but it really is sort of breaking it down into stroke by stroke.
Mm-hmm. Just
Uh,
like swimming, stroke by stroke, breath by breath.
yeah, and I think that's the procrastination comes again from like a really big chunk. Like I don't know how to do this, or I have to leap over the chasm, and I'm scared that I'll fall in the middle. When a lot of things you can do are really just one step in front of the other. So like I'm looking at like the motivation trap. Okay, and I've got four sub things under that and two sub things under one of those. So now I'm going to take the top one. So people think that what's lacking is motivation. So now I can go in and go, so why do they think that? And
that creates another line.
right. So I've just added to it, and that wasn't that hard. But now when I'm not ready to write yet, but at some point of just doing that. So let's see. B, bad ways to motivate people. Okay, so let's see. Number one would be use my motivations and assume they're the same. Okay, so
Wow, look at you, just writing
yeah,
it while we're chatting.
yeah,
That's
it's
great.
and I'm still kind of tired, and so maybe now's not the day to write the prose, but now is the day to expand the outline. Give it a day and then come back. So I guess I answered one question. Is one strategy is just to take what you're doing and break it down into the easy next step.
Tiny little goals that'll add up to all those 1%, right? That was
Yeah.
just 1% step you just did. Bam, it just came out, and then okay, that's all you have to do for the day. Really, you don't even have to do anything else to be able to get to your next piece, right?
Yeah, and just so actually the hard part was bringing up the outline and looking at it. Like once I look at it, immediately it's saying, "Hey, this is wrong. This needs to be here. You forgot about this."
Hmm.
Right? Like when you sit down to write a blog post, you don't sit down and say, "Oh, it's Monday. It's time for a blog post."
No, the blog comes when something's happened or I just feel inspired. And like the interesting thing for me about blogs is that it really comes to me. There is no thinking whatsoever that I have to do. It's just like it really just flows and poof, it's done. And so that's what I'm looking for in writing a book is that like okay, like I've done the outline part, right? But the next step for me is like to actually want to, put that into more than just the outline. Because a blog is like, okay, it's one topic, boom, it's done. Like, here we are, like writing about something that I like or I've experienced for me is super easy to write about. But then writing about like a past experience or things that have already happened or haven't happened, those are the ones that are like, okay, do I really want to dive into this? Because, it literally feels like I'm going to go down like this other rabbit hole that maybe I don't feel like going down.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and and that might be perfectly appropriate for you for sort of self-care to say there's certain places I'm not going to go. But what it comes down to ultimately is that for all of us, the things we want to do are going to bring up unpleasant feelings. And for all of us, we have to decide, like, for me, an unpleasant feeling is running those 9-minute miles.
Yes, and you've been doing a lot of them recently.
Yep, every day.
Every day, yeah.
At least one.
At least
Right.
one.
But that's a
great.
different unpleasant feeling than, let's say, spraining an ankle or
Yeah.
pulling a flexor. Right. So part of our job is to get good at discerning, do I not want to write this because feelings of inadequacy, or who am I to say this? Or I'm afraid people are going to think I'm stupid because I'm not going to say the right thing, or which is sort of the 9-minute mile, or this could, I don't want to go back into that place of victimhood and helplessness, and I'm not ready to do it yet, which is self-care.
Yeah, that's totally. And then a part of me is like, do I even remember that part of me? Like when we did our podcast and stuff, it was like when we did them, I was still in this place of like processing it. Now it like feels so far away from me that I'm like, was that even me? Like I have to like now like go back and find that person that was that and oh, like that just made me think of an idea, like almost being like how people share like the ego and how if you like actually step out of your body and actually visualize what's happening then. Like, it's almost like I could do that to my prior self. Like, I could be like, oh, this is my perspective of what was happening then. What if I had done this? I
Hmm.
mean, that just like
What
came
if
to
you
me.
what if you write about yourself in the third person?
Yeah, I could do that too. I mean, I mean, because then it wouldn't necessarily, yeah.
Or
Huh, so many ideas.
even write it as a letter to your younger self.
Huh. And it could be like a short, like, because I'm thinking like I would love like a short story. Like, what if they were like little stories about little Sarah, you
Hmm.
know, and like what she went through to like overcome her traumatic experiences into now, like, and what would I've told myself? Wow, okay, now you got my brain thinking. Outline time,
All
right?
right. Yep. Gotta go. Right.
Gotta go, right? Like, my brain is on fire.
All right. Well, you got any stories?
um, hmm. Let's see. Well, like one that came to particular was like when I was on the swim team, like as a child, and I remember like this was when I really, really wanted to be on the Olympic team. But the coach that I had, like, she would always make remarks about like I didn't have that many brain cells or something, you know, like she would always make these like really mean comments to me about, and I never told, and this was I think why I never told anyone like my goals and like what things that I wanted to do, because the atmosphere that I was surrounded in was basically, you know, people that were just like, oh, like you had these surgeries, you know, like you're not really anything, you know
Hmm.
what I mean? And so for me, like right away, it created all this fear about, you know, even wanting to share anything that I wanted to do, or anything regarding, you know, my just my future in swimming and things like that. And so that's like one, but then like now I can look at that and be like so grateful because, you know, like it just has led to so many great things. And I can look at that woman, and from her perspective, it might have been like, oh, like this is what I view people that have had surgeries, and I don't think that they're very smart, you know. And to me it's like, well, you didn't even give me a chance, you know, to even prove to you that I could have done something else, you know? And or maybe all of that is wrong and all of it's right and all of it's in between, right? Like there's
Hmm.
so many like different things that it could be, but you know, like that's just one experience that, you know, I remember that was like kind of traumatic for me, that kind of led me into not wanting to step into my power or speak my truth, you know. And so many people probably have that now, right? Maybe they're overweight and people think that, oh, like why would you want to lose weight, you know, like you're like, I remember like reading in your book or just about Josh, like how, you know, a lot of times like people think it's funny, right, to like just make fat jokes, or even him, he would make like fat jokes himself just to kind of make him like kind of fit in. And it ended up, you know, it wasn't really healthy per se, you know, and he didn't necessarily like it. But we do these things just to kind of either fit in or not step into our truth, you know.
Hmm. Yeah. Well, and writing a book presumably is all about stepping into your truth.
Yeah, because then you so maybe that's the block, is I haven't been ready to actually share things that I haven't actually shared. I've
Hmm.
only been sharing what I've only been sharing what, like, just kind of, you know, I haven't really shared like the deep things that I feel, you know, have been really transformative for me, but at the time they may not have been that feeling, you know, I may not have felt that way about it.
Hmm. Yeah. And probably most of the things that you look back on as transformative stewed for a long time.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, I'm sure that I mean, they've just been building blocks of trying to figure out, well, what am I doing, you know, kind of
Hmm.
thing. But now it's like, I I just know that through my own self-love to myself and transformation, it's just made me a better human and a better coach, and I can be a better example for others. So, yeah, I mean, of course, I guess this is the next step for me, is to kind of unleash some of these things and see what unfolds, right?
Yeah. Another great writing trick is to write to one person. So, like, very often when I'm writing a blog post or preparing a video talk or a newsletter, I'll think about something someone said in a coaching session, right? Some struggle they're having, and I'll write directly to them, right?
Oh, wow. Huh.
So, and
That's a
then,
good.
even to the point of starting, Dear Sarah. And then at the end, you just erase the Dear Sarah. And then
Yeah.
it's, then, because then
Then it's
everyone,
easy. Yeah,
everyone who needs to hear it will hear it in their way.
exactly. But then it makes writing easier because you're essentially just talking to someone, and then you're like, here's what I would tell you if,
Right.
You were right here.
Right. And that, and if the style of the book isn't conducive to that, you can always then go back and edit it, or, find an editor to turn it into, other kinds of prose. But if you're talking about your truth is not in a vacuum. Your truth is expressed in relation. And so far your truth has been expressed in relation to yourself, which is kind of hard to write about.
Yeah.
And you share your truths with people who you coach who are struggling.
I definitely do. Yeah. I mean, it comes out just naturally. Like when someone's like having a struggle, I'm like, been there. I've already been there.
Right.
Already did that.
Yeah. So let me tell you the story of that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I mean, that makes it so much easier to just think of it as like little short stories of what others could be going through in this moment, and kind of share that piece and next. Cool.
Yeah.
Awesome.
All right. Should go write something.
Go right.
I'll
You as
outline,
well.
you write, I'll meet you next week.
Yeah, exactly. We'll have a book published shortly, right? Cool deal. Awesome. Well, thank you so much. This was so great.
Thank you, as always.
Perfect. And we'll see you next time.
All right. Bye.
Cool. Bye.